Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another Bancroft Brothers animation podcast. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tony. How you doing?
It's going well here. It's the podcast by two twin brothers that used to be Disney animators, still love animation, though, talk about it all the time. Yeah. And boy, do we got the dirt today to talk about some good stuff.
This is going to be a fun one because there's a lot going around about 2D animation right now. I know our fans especially love 2D animation. Tony, you and I are still doing 2D animation.
I know. And I get cramps in my hands all the time as an old man. But I will say, I just spoke to a group of students just last night, Tom. And the number one question, the very first question is, I love 2D, and I think you call it 2D traditional. I love 2D. I love the pencil animation. When's it coming back?
These are like 2-year-olds that you were talking to?
Well, this kid wasn't really.
Wow.
Yeah, too much on the upscale, but
college or high school kids, right?
They were high school, and this one was a youngish high school. Anyway, the fact is that there's still a buzz about it. There's still people talking about it. There's a lot of rumors. We're going to address some of that tonight in our episode.
All right, let's roll into this, and that is we have some special guests tonight. We have with us, bringing them forth, Blaise.
Aaron Blaise. Nick Burch. Come on, Nick.
Burch. Yeah, old friends.
Old friends.
Your mic is off. I don't know if you know that.
You're muted.
Hello, everybody, again.
Hi, Nick.
That's good radio. That's good radio.
That's good radio.
Now,
podcasts are now.
It's for like those that don't know, Nick Burch is Aaron's partner in their creature art teacher company.
Yes.
And has been for a long time. How long, Nick, have you guys been together?
See, we've been going on, I think we're coming up on 13 years working
13
together.
years. We're also brother-in-laws. Yeah, our wives are sisters.
I keep forgetting that.
But we were business partners first.
Really?
Yeah, so I introduced him to my wife's sister, indirectly. And they hit it off and fell in love. And now
here we are.
Can't get rid of each other.
So big business, big love. I think there's a show called Big Love that sounds very similar to this, actually.
Yeah. And sister wives.
We're polygamists. We are polygamists.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Separate houses. All right.
It's good catching up with old friends. As a matter of fact, Aaron and I and Nick, we're all three of us back in Anacey, France. I mentioned that, and got to catch up at a dinner. We had a wonderful dinner, Tom. You weren't there. What a bummer that was.
This is going to be a fun podcast for me. I can already tell. Why don't we roll right into talking about
I had some students
Anacey
from Lipscomb,
and
we're going to talk about it. Don't worry. I had some students that were with me from Lipscomb, and we had Ron Clemens, who is our old-time friend and director. You've heard it.
Disney director.
For the listeners out there, yes, Disney director Ron Clemens, his buddy John Musker. They were a directing duo for many years. Moana was one, Little Mermaid, Treasure Planet, Aladdin.
Hercules,
the list goes on. They're the most prolific. Detective. Yeah. They're the most prolific directors in Disney history. Anyway,
even more than Disney, I think, right?
Even more than Walt Disney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although his name's on everything, so I don't know.
Yeah. It's hard to count.
Hard to count that. But anyway, and Ron and his wife were there, and he was getting a special achievement award. I don't know. That sounded like something you get in high school. It's some kind of lifetime achievement award. That was given to him, and I didn't get to go to that. Did you go to that ceremony, or were you there at the?
No, we weren't able to make it. No.
Okay.
Mark Henn got it last year, the year before.
Yes. And Eric Goldberg the year before that, because I was there 2 years ago. So yeah,
I love that they like old Disney people. And again, this is for the topic. Our topic tonight is about 2D animation. We want to talk about is there a future for it, where we think it is right now in the world. But Anacey, this is back to Anacey, is a big part of it. The European community loves 2D animation. Can we talk about that while we're still name dropping, Tony? Keep going. But
the Academy does too, though, Tom. It's interesting you say that because the Academy Awards, the Oscars, I would say largely favors 2D. Now that's not what won this year, obviously, a CG film, Flow, but it had a 2D look, and I think that really helped it a lot. And they also support the indies, which I think is why it's so important to have Aaron and Nick here talking about the independent market, Tom, is that they have what is their very first animated short that they've done independently called Snow Bear. And if you follow Aaron Blaise or Aaron Blaise's creature art teacher, did I say that right, you guys? Creature art teacher?
Yep, you did. Yep.
ToGoThere.com. That's where Aaron does a lot of teaching about how to do 2D animation, how to draw animals. He's got all kinds of tutorials and
painting
online things that you can get. Oh, paintings. Oh my gosh. Storyboards. You can learn about all kinds of stuff there, all online with his tutorials that he and Nick put out. But on top of all that, somehow he found time to make an animated short, which is blowing up. Can you guys tell us a little bit about?
We started out. We actually wanted to make a course on how to make your own animated short. So that's that's how it started. And so then we came up with the idea, and
to do that, you had to kind of come up with a story.
Yeah, that was the thing.
It's funny because I always say all my ideas come to me either when I'm waking up in the morning or when I'm washing my hair in the shower, which I don't know if you guys know what that's like or not.
No, bald. Oh, that's a bald joke. Good one. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my little attempt at humor. But
below the belt.
So I wanted to do a short. I've always wanted to do my own film all by myself, animated, all the backgrounds, all that. So I wanted to come up with a single character with a simple background, which I thought was a simple background, and which was the Arctic. So I just came up with this idea of a lonely polar bear in the Arctic, and that's where the seed of the idea started.
A lot of white. Yeah, a lot of white color.
Well, I'll put my producer hat on, because in addition to being partners on Creature Art Teacher, I was the producer on Snow Bear. And so this is how Aaron pitched it to me. It's going to be an easy film. Going to take me 6 months, one character, simple backgrounds.
I love it.
3 years later,
3 years later.
Nothing simple about it.
Actually, not 9 years later from the time he pitched it to the time it was finished.
Oh, well,
that's 3 years of action.
Yeah.
3 years of action.
Well, and here's the thing. We can assume, Aaron, that it was probably in your head originally, what, a minute, 3 minutes tops? And then it ballooned into what?
Yeah, it's an 11-minute film. So it's 10.5 minutes with credits. So it's with credits, it's 11.5 minutes. So
but it was going to be much shorter originally.
My goal was to make it 6 minutes. That was my original goal. It was a 6 minute short. Yeah, 6 minutes. Yeah.
So a month a minute is what you're giving yourself. Okay.
I've heard you talk about it, and we are fortunate. Tom and I have an expo that we do now called Animation Y'all Expo. We've talked about it here before, and you guys graced us with your presence our very first expo in November, and screened Snow Bear, and to a huge audience. I mean, it was a full packed room, and
it was great.
They were eating it up.
I feel like it was February to me.
It was February.
What did I say? November? I keep saying November. Yeah, it was February. And we are coming back, by the way, audience. April 10th through the 12th will be our new time. And we want you guys to be there. Absolutely. Yeah. So you got to get a new short done for Animation Y'all 2026.
I remember patting you on the back as you were leaving after Snow Bear. We just screened it. And I said, okay, so you got to make another one for next year.
It's our new tradition.
But one of the things that I was amazed at when you did that presentation, Aaron, was you gave a very passionate, when you were talking about how it started, there was a very passionate, heartfelt element to the story that had to do with your first wife. Can you talk, and it really became the theme of the movie. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, we all coming up with Disney in the world of Disney and animating for Disney, and many of us coming up under Glenn Keane, which I know you guys did too. Yeah. You learn to animate from the heart, right? You try to make it real. You want it to come from someplace deep inside. And I've always taken that to heart. And so, the idea of creating a lonely polar bear who makes a snow bear for companionship, that was the seed of the idea, but I hadn't made it mine yet. I thought it could be a really compelling, nice little short that would be heartwarming. But the more I thought about it and the more I realized what it could mean, I started applying it to myself and my own story. And for those that don't know, I was married for 20 years. I was brand newly married when Tom and Tony and I met back in 1989. And my wife and I, Karen, we were together for 20 years, but in 2005, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and we lost her in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And I was completely, and it's just, I mean, it's just in the last, since I talk about it more and more often, I'm able to talk about it more. I still get choked up. It was a devastating, it was devastating. And you go through this thing of, where you feel emotionally adrift and you don't know where you're going and what's happening. And then ultimately you kind of, things settle and you find the shore again. You get your feet back under you and you find relationships again and all of that. It's all the cliches that we always hear about loss, but they're true.
Yeah.
And I lived all that. And so then as I was writing the story and developing the story, and as I got into animating the story, I realized that the story of Snow Bear was really kind of this metaphor for what I had gone through emotionally with Karen, with the illness, being watching her, for lack of a better way of putting it, melt away, and you see you can't say it's a hard thing to go through, and then literally being adrift, that became that part of it, and then once again finding, at the end you find somebody like I did with Vedanta, Nick's sister-in-law, and it was 18 or 17 years later, and at one point you think I could never love anybody again. I could never do that. It's like, you just can't imagine it. But then you find yourself 15 years later, and here you are. And so that's what Snow Bear became. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the emotional part.
That's a beautiful story.
So much. I remember seeing the audience resonate that. I think, it's funny because at Animation Y'all, at the screen, we had big fans of Aaron Blaise, huge 2D animation fans. And we're going to talk more about 2D in a bit here. But so they went knowing they were going to see something great and articulated, beautiful movement, probably poetic and wonderful visually. And they left, and I saw it on their faces, impacted by that theme, by that story, that emotional core. Do you feel like, and now since then, you guys, and I'd love to hear Nick talk about this, because now there's a big rollout happening with Snow Bear. You guys are you're traveling the world, you're showing it all over. That was part of why you were at Anacey too, I know. Tell us a little bit about how, I feel like it's that emotional core that's really making it resonate with audiences all over. People are reacting, right?
For sure. So a couple of things real quick on that. One, the first time we shared that story was at Animation Y'all. So that was the first time that we were able to share that sort of inspiration. We early on, Aaron and I talk about this a lot. Like, we're not a Disney, we're not a Pixar. And frankly, how do you monetize a short? How do you, it's a lot of time. There's no money in it. How do you actually, there's a passion of it, but how do you actually make it worth your time? And so what we decided early on was we wanted to, for lack of a better way to say it, show how the sausage gets made, right? So we wanted to share the process of animation as we were making the film. And so we want, Aaron would live stream twice a week the making of, we were very careful to hold the ending back. We still wanted surprises. We pretty much showed the first third of the movie as part of the live stream process, because we didn't want to reveal that emotional aspect of it. So it was cool at Animation Y'all to be able to share that portion of it for the first time. And now that we've been taking it around, it's been really cool to see that part of the response, because everybody knows
it pays off. Because I remember years ago when I was still at Disney and social media was just coming up, and having conversations with Andrew Milstein saying, hey, this idea of holding everything precious and not revealing anything until the end, I think, this is an old way of thinking. I think, we have an opportunity to market the film before the film gets made, before the film comes out, and you're saving money. I was trying to talk in terms that executives would understand.
Right.
And but it always fell on deaf ears.
How'd that go, Aaron?
Yeah, it went really well, let me tell you. But I always believed in that. And once again, I always had faith. I knew the short could pay off in some way or another. And so I just thought, why don't we do what I was talking about doing at Disney? We can build this audience as we go. And it's funny because now we go out and, whether we go to Europe or wherever we go, they're like, hey, when can I see Snow Bear? Where's Snow Bear?
Right. They know about it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just a short. That's all it is. It's just a little 11-minute short.
Right.
And so that's the other thing that we're really trying to build an awareness and get momentum behind it, because I got the bug again. I want to keep making movies. Yeah. And so now we're hoping to make some bigger ones.
Aaron's back. Did you hear that, everybody?
I heard it. Yeah. 2D's coming back through Aaron Blaise.
Can we cut to the John Wick? People keep asking me if I'm back. I'm trying to think if I'm back.
I don't watch.
Tom's being a little shy tonight, so I'll get the next question. But that I just think it's incredible marketing. I don't know if you stumbled into this plan, but what you're talking about now, I've never seen happen before, because you're literally building an audience while you're making the film. You're also getting that audience to help pay for the making of that film while you're making the film, and then you have an incredible, excited audience. And now you're taking it out to film festivals as you build towards what? A bigger future. Nick, pitch that. What is that bigger future now that it's done?
Well, now that it's done, I mean, hopefully so far it's doing really well in the festival circuit, and it seems to be winning awards and stuff like that. We hope it gets recognition, maybe with an Academy run. We're working towards that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, as Aaron just said, he's got the bug to keep making films. So for us, this is a proof of concept. That's our next step. We want to now do the same thing. And actually, we want to pick your guys' brains, because we know you just finished an independent feature film. We've got questions about
animated, that. Nick.
2D animated.
2D animated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the light of the world.
The theme of the evening. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I you saying all that, I have a million questions if Tony will let me ask them. But honestly,
probably not.
I just feel like, but what you just said, Aaron, I want to go back to that for a second.
Put some words together, Tom. Put it together.
I'm here. I'm ready to say it. Thank you. So this podcast. I don't know what's going on. We were just talking about Elio. I call it Elio. It might be Elio. Again, one of the other faults of the movie. You can't say the name of the title.
Ooh, sassy.
Elio did horrible. It just came out. If you're listening to this later, as you will be, just this last weekend, it had its debut weekend, and it's the all-time lowest money-making film opening
Pixar.
Weekend for a Pixar film. And a lot of reasons for it, I'm sure. Some people say it's sci-fi. Sci-fi never does good in animation from Disney and Pixar. And you can go to Strange World and you can go to Treasure Planet and sort of prove it. But I think a lot of people didn't know about this movie. They did not know it was coming out. I saw the trailers. By the way, the trailer a year ago that came out, that we saw a while back when it was because it got pushed back at least a year. It was a totally radically different trailer than the one that came out later.
Really?
Yeah, literally, if you go back to that, if it's still around, and I'm sure it is, if you go back to that, he didn't want to get abducted by aliens in the first trailer. He was like, oh, no. He was all scared as he was getting sucked up. You see the newer trailer a year later, and he's like, I can't wait. Oh, I hope they come get me. He's like camping out, trying to get abducted. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, woo, when he starts getting sucked up. And the bad guy too, I think he was like a friendly character, and then he became a bad guy.
Tom, that's the Elio version, but then they changed it to the Elio version, and that's where they made all the improvements.
The title changed to a different pronunciation. Yeah.
But
that makes sense. But here's the thing, Aaron, you just said it. Like, why didn't nobody knew about this movie? Why weren't they sharing about it? And maybe I just answered my own question. They were having huge story problems. But they've been running scared, Disney and Pixar, for a while now because of Snow White and all the bad press.
And
I feel like they're getting tighter with their stuff. What do you guys think?
I think so. And I think it's worth pointing out that Elio is a critically acclaimed film. The critics loved it. It's got 80-some-odd%.
I've seen comments where people are saying this is really
the
sad.
audience seems to really enjoy it too.
So I don't think it's a case of it being a bad film, because I want to also mention, we've all done poorly performing box office movies, and we've done great ones. You know, we all worked on The Rescuers Down Under, which is a good film, and it bombed. And we also worked on The Lion King. So, you know, we all worked just as hard.
Bombed big. Yeah, big time bomb.
Did not. Yeah.
But, you know, we all worked just as hard on The Rescuers as we did on The Lion King and all the other ones in between. So, you know, to the crew that worked on Elio, I know they worked just as hard, had just as much passion in it. I look at, and you know, we've gone through this a lot of times. It's not just the crew that makes these films, right? There's entire divisions of these companies that are in charge of the marketing and in charge of everything else that goes with it. And everybody thinks with every film that they're going to have the new way to do it and they can do it better. And it happens every time. And, you know, we're definitely speaking from the outside looking in. You can speculate. We can be armchair, you know, quarterbacks forever. But
which I love. It's fun. We need to keep doing it. Yeah, don't stop.
Yeah. Well, but back to Tom's question about sharing the process. I think that could have worked, and I think even if to be honest, when Aaron and I were first talking about sharing the process,
Lord of the Rings,
Lord of the Rings, because Peter Jackson had the OneRing.net back in the day, and if you remember, they were showing making the chainmail, and they were showing all, and that worked, and nobody ever did it again. Nobody ever did it again at that scale, and I was like, why don't we just do that on a smaller scale?
And thank you, Nick, for making that point, because that was what I was going for, which is we've seen it, the successes. And why don't they do it? And honestly, I think it's people protecting themselves so much so that they forget the audience wants to be a part of that.
And because that's how it's always been done. That's the other thing. And then I think, you know, Disney, it's Disney, and they're very precious, and they, you know, it's every big company, they get full of themselves, and there's like this tradition, right? But I think we got to bend, and we got to. One of the things, especially with 2D, is that there's like two generations now that have gone by since we really stopped doing the animation we were doing in the 90s, right? So whenever I sit down and I live stream, let's say on TikTok, and I live stream animating on paper, I love doing that, and people love watching it, and they're fascinated because they've never seen it before. And these are high school kids and young college kids that are asking me, "Hey, why are you flipping the paper?"
Yeah.
What?
I know.
You know, so there's a huge audience that is so interested in what we do. So why not take them along and show them?
Yeah. Do you feel like, and this could touch on AI, guys. I'm kind of warning.
Woo, watch out.
But we're starting to segue into, you know, where is 2D headed? How do we save 2D? How do we make it? And I'm talking feature films mostly, because it's still alive and well on TV. We're going to make that very clear. Right. But feature films, especially independent 2D feature films, I want to say it one more time. Aaron, you guys want to make a feature film. We haven't quite said that, have we? This was the prequel, hopefully, to a feature film, this Snow Bear. Are you saying the title? Are you giving that out there?
Yeah, we can say the title. Yeah, we have we got several titles. We're actually writing. We've got 4-ish, but 3 definite projects that are feature length that we're writing right now. And one of them is a film that takes place in the Snow Bear world, in the Snow Bear universe. It's not the same story, but we're using Snow Bear as the proof of concept as far as complexity level and character count and all that kind of thing. And it's a film called Polar, a big adventure that takes place in the Arctic. Yeah.
Well, and somebody said to me recently, what if it was called Arctic? Would that be a better title?
Well, it does start with an A, and they always say that if it's
true.
Bancroft brothers said it should be called Arctic. I love
Aardvarks in the Arctic. Yeah.
So you could say you guys have a slate of some kind of concepts.
Yeah, actually, we've got a couple of things that we're putting together, and you know, I know you guys aren't, you know, this isn't a surprise to you, but man, when I watch Aaron pitch something, it is he makes me cry pitching stuff I've already seen him pitch. You know what I mean? And it's still.
Does he see dollar sign?
No.
You see that?
Well, exactly. No,
Yeah.
I've seen him make himself cry while pitching, which is
I know, and I do that all the. I have this other story that I was pitching to my wife the other day, and I started crying when I was pitching it, and she started laughing at me. It was pretty funny.
Was it also about you? Was it like a grandfather story?
No, well, it's no, but I always kind of put myself in the character, I guess.
Yeah.
No, it was a little orphan, elephant orphan story. But
that's the yin and yang that I know about Aaron. Is he's got a big tender heart, but then he animates like Bao Gung and Yao, a ball of like anger and frustration.
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm a softie.
Characters that fart. Yep.
And then it's hard.
Just like you, Tony.
Anyway, we'll cut that.
Well, and I want to touch on one thing just to complete the Anacey story.
Yeah.
What was it like going to Anacey, where you knew in Europe? And by the way, if you've been to any screening in Anacey, that is a hungry group that just loves animation, and we're talking hundreds of students, if not thousands. Yeah. I guess it's thousands.
Professionals too. It's
professionals. Yeah,
15,000, right? Wasn't it, Nick?
18,000.
18,000.
Yeah. Let's just make it 21. But it was a ton of people, and they're going in to see Snow Bear for the first time. Tell us about that experience, just real quick. I have to hear about it.
It's going to be a letdown for you, because we showed it at Tribeca. Before we were at Tribeca before we went to Anacey, and we had
2 days before, right?
Like we were up on stage with Whoopi Goldberg and all kinds of fun stuff, and the audience they were crying, they were laughing. Europe is a harder audience, to be honest with you. Afterwards, I had so many people coming up saying I was crying, I teared up, it was so funny, this and that. When we were sitting there watching it, it was quiet.
Yeah, but isn't that a respect thing? I think they do.
Oh, it is. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I think they're just taking in the artistry and all the
it's definitely.
But you tend to. We always do on our own movies. I'm sure you went through it, Tony, and you went through it, Tom. You just kind of every little thing just shows up as it's playing, and so you just
it's funny though to me, because my experience, you guys have done this 1,000 times. To me, this is still a new experience of getting to see.
Yeah, what was your perspective
that we worked on? Like, first of all, the first time I got to see it on an actual movie screen, we showed it in Amsterdam about 2 months ago to an audience, and it was unbelievable. Like, first of all, the sound in the picture, and like when you hear it in surround sound, and because we had it mixed at Skywalker and all that, man, that is such a good experience. Now, to Aaron's point, European audiences do tend to be a little more reserved in this during the actual showing itself, but afterwards they all came up and they were all like, "Oh, we loved it, and which is great to hear." And a few of them had notes too, which is
and you're like, "What? Wait, you laugh?"
But then it's a mix. But then when we showed it in Anacey, what was cool for us, and I'm sure you guys have done festivals and you've done this experience. When you do these festivals, you never get to see anything. So it was the first time we got to see other films at Anacey, because they were in our block of films. We got to see Forever Green, which was great. It was really cool to be in with Forever Green. I love that film. Yeah. And it was fun to be a part of that screening and that audience with it. And then the cool thing about the festivals is, if I had my way, Snow Bear would already be out to the public, because I know that's who really wants to see it, and all those people that got to be, but it is cool about the festivals is getting to meet other filmmakers with their films, and they're on kind of the same journey. That's a cool experience. I don't know if you were probably thinking I was going to say something different, Aaron. I'm not sure what you were thinking about.
Oh, no, that was it. Yeah, that was it. And then there was one other thing, just regarding our business. It was a fun little anecdote. Was when we were at Tribeca. I by far I was the oldest filmmaker up there in that group.
Yeah, one of my students was in competition.
Yeah, one of your students was in there, exactly.
Yeah.
But I would say half of I got to meet everybody, and about half of them, it may have been even more than half, came up and said, I took your courses on your website to learn
Nice.
animation. Yeah.
Wow.
We had
That's
one
so
guy
cool.
that actually took one of my animation courses so that he could do the film that was in Tribeca.
Wow. That's
It
awesome.
was really cool. That I loved. It was
He was
really
that
cool.
that new of a beginner then, too.
No. I think it was like an animal thing or something. Yeah, because he had to animate a tiger, and so he was looking to figure out how to do quadrupeds or something.
Well, and since we're talking about 2D animation, and that kind of leads to a story that I don't know if I've told you this, Aaron, is that back years ago when you had already converted from paper 2D animation, traditional animation, paper and pencil, into TV Paint, digital application, working on the Wacom Cintiq and things like that. And you were one of the early guys from our generation of 2D animators to do that. And I remember I had a job that came up that it was going to be all 2D animation for the characters, but the backgrounds were going to be CG. And the client, I think it was Pixamondo. It was one of the big special effects houses. And this was a project we did for overseas for Theme Park. And I had to do it. So they said, can you guys do this digitally? There's new applications. We would love to have digital output of the characters so we can put it with the CG. Yeah. I said, yeah. Oh yeah. TV Paint. Yeah, I could do TV Paint. I've never done. And so they're like, okay, well, the first thing we want you to do is take some of this Chinese dialogue, because they wanted to see how their characters would work with some lip sync that was all Chinese, and do a test for us in TV Paint. Can we see that like in a couple days? And I was panicked. I was so panicked about going home. And luckily, I already had a Wacom. I had been doing a lot of Photoshop playing on the Wacom tablet, but I downloaded it. The very first thing I went to was Aaron Blaise had several tutorials on how to use TV Paint, and this is one thing I'll say to the audience that's listening too, which is a good reason to go to Aaron and Nick's creatureartteacher.com. His tutorials, his way of teaching, his simple backwoods vernacular, I'm going to say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is so enticing, but also so very clear.
His limited vocabulary.
Yes.
Simple
very
words.
Clear in how he outlaid it. Long story short, I animated that scene. It took me a half a day to get up to speed up with TV Paint because of his tutorials. I animated it and turned it around really quickly. So tip of the hat to you, but also to the TV Paint folks who made a very simple to use application. And
once you understand their interface, that it's a pretty user friendly thing. And I got to put out there, there's Dom Carolla that got me into that as well. One of our other colleagues.
Yeah, one of our friends.
Oh, is that where it started? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I had done a commercial with him called The Bear and the Hare, which is a traditionally animated character set against these miniature, like 3D miniature set pieces. And I did it all on paper, but they were animating in Toon Boom or something. And he said, yeah, you should try digital animation. You should try TV Paint. I think you'd like that. So I tried it, and that's how we got into it. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's so funny because we have some, there's still one or two studios out there that are like, and we'll just say the Cuphead guys, they're definitely purists about, no, we want you to, they'll hire somebody and say, we want it on pencil and paper. We don't want you to do tradigital. That's what I call it, guys. Tradigital animation.
That's a good way of putting it.
Where you're doing it with Toon Boom or TV Paint. And I'd turn that down. Like we did do it. Tony and I both worked on one of those little projects, but I don't want to ever do it again, honestly. I mean, I see you flipping. I've seen your live streams, and I'm going.
I am with you 1,000%. And you know, the Mark Hens and the Eric Goldbergs and the Glenn Keens would curse us right now for saying this, but I am a total convert when it comes to animating digitally. It increases your production abilities so much. Now, do I miss being able to hold a scene and flip the paper and all of that? Of course I do, and I love that.
Or sell those drawings individually.
And being able to sell the drawings at the end.
Right. But when it comes to just ease of production and what it gives you in production savings is immeasurable. It's great.
We actually debated going
yeah.
back to Snow Bear. We debated doing a shot or two on paper just to have the paper at the end and to have that to be able to take take.
And
around.
I can see that would be really smart. Like if you did a Kickstarter or something like that, then you'd have one stack.
But at the end, at the end, honestly, we ruled it out just because from the efficiency standpoint, it just didn't make sense. It was already taking.
And I've got a down shooter right here, and we've got everything hooked up, and we can do it. It's just I don't want to.
No, it's so
you like your undo button too much. I get it.
I know.
I mean, you get the power of basically Photoshop in an animation program. So you could still do the stuff you know how to do, but then, oh shoot, I made that head a little small. Blow it up a little bit, right? You don't have to.
And all of us, we all suffer from the, we love 2D animation, but we're also victims of animation in general. You're a victim of the speed of it, right? And so you want to get it out as fast as you can. I don't want to take 2 hours to shoot a shot.
No.
Yeah.
I want playback. I want instant gratification. I want to make adjustments.
You want to hit play right away. I know.
Yeah,
all right, guys. I got to call it. We got to go back to our topic. I'm going to go back to that last night when I spoke to that kid and he asked me, is 2D animation coming
more
back?
To that story. Good.
Yeah. And I said, I think it's going to be the independents that bring it back, not the big studios. Yet, as we speak online, I keep seeing these memes, and I'm sure you guys are seeing them too. Disney Animation soon to bring back a 2D animated feature. Disney Animation doing this. They hired Ron Clemens, who we had dinner with, I mentioned earlier, at Anacey. And I don't think he would admit to this at all. But, Ron Clemens is coming back to train the next generation of 2D animators at Disney. What do you guys think? Is it going to be the big studios, or is it going to be guys like you that bring back 2D animation? I'll tell you where my money falls.
Well, I think personally, if any big studio is going to do it, it's going to be Disney, I think. But I don't know. I think it's too big of a secret to keep, and there'd be too many people involved. We're all still fairly close to the industry that we know somebody that would know something about something, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's the James Baxters and the Ken Duncans and all those people that have their ears to the ground. I just, there's nothing out. I think it's wishful thinking. So that being said, as far as the big studios go, I do think it's going to be, the smaller independents. And that's what, even though it's not a 2D film, that's what gave me a lot of hope when Flow won at the Oscars, because you had these little films that are toppling these $200 million budget films.
Right.
Wild Robot, Chris Sanders is a genius. Wild Robot is an amazing film. But then you have this little $4.5 million film that came along and I think there's a lot of sympathy votes in there, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
But it did give me some hope. And I do think that we have the tools nowadays to make films for not 200 million, but maybe 20 million, maybe even 15 million, to make a decent production value film with a great story. And, the one thing that I always say when people ask me, do you think 2D's dead? Well, first of all, it's never gone away. It's just gone off in different directions.
It went to Europe.
Just because Disney's not doing it doesn't mean it's gone. Yeah. And the other thing I always say is 2D's not gone because it only goes away if we let it go away. So as long as, like, you guys just made a 2D feature, I'm making 2D films. As long as we're making them, then it's not gone.
Right.
So
they're going to have to take our pencil out of our dead, withered fingers.
Or stylists, right. Exactly.
Well,
and stylists in this case.
Going back to what I think your guys' point about Aaron touched on it with the two generations, and you had the students asking you, there's clearly a hunger for it. I think it's, and Disney's aware of that. They're not dumb, they've got, they don't have the pipeline set up for it, and it's a whole. But I think, look, the problem with a company like Disney or a massive corporation is it's like steering the Titanic, right? It's like steering a giant tanker ship. They don't have the nimble flexibility of the little speedboat, right?
Right. Yeah.
Independence can be the little speedboat. You can be like, oh, I can pivot, switch direction. Aaron has made the point a lot when he gets asked about it. I don't think we can go back to making princess musicals like the 90s. Like, I don't think, nor should we. I think it's got to be different. It's got to be a new version of it. I think Cartoon Saloon's done some really interesting things out in Ireland with their 2D films. I think Ghibli's obviously they've never stopped, right? So, you know, when people say, will it come back? I don't think it can come back like it was. It's got to be something new, or else it doesn't.
Now, the big question is, can it come back and do, you know, $200 million box office? That's the big question.
Yeah.
Because there's Studio Ghibli and there's Cartoon Saloon and there's all those. But I mean, until a 2D film comes out and makes, or let's say 150 million in the box office with a $20 million budget, no one's going to be interested in doing it.
Yeah.
It's when someone comes out and they just spent 20 million and that film comes out and makes 200 million, then they're going to go, oh, hey, wait a minute, how'd you do that?
Well, and yeah, I guess you could say Flow didn't even do that, right? I mean,
no,
it was made for whatever, 4 mil, and I don't know what
it's raising eyebrows. That's the key.
It certainly opened a door. I'll jump in on the Disney speculation. Is I agree with you guys. I'm not I'm not thinking that this is going to happen. I was straight up saying no, that's all rumor, for a while now, because it's sort of there's a second entourage or a second onslaught of rumors that are going on because Jared Bush, the CCO of Disney, made some comments about 2D. I think I don't know if we talked about that, but because Tony was talking a lot, I wasn't listening. But that's kind of where some of this second onslaught or trash.
What onslaught? What are you saying?
I'm putting three things together. Anyway, there's the new rumors that have been coming through. It's because of Anacey, and he had said some comments, and he talked about. And by the way, he said 2D artists. So we have 2D artists doing some amazing stuff. That doesn't mean 2D animators, right? And so that could obviously be then. Well, we're going to do something semi Spider-Verse-ish, or even Paperman-ish, where it's CG, but we do some 2D, or maybe there's one character. They were going to do that on Wish. That little star character was going to be 2D, and then they took that out and made it CG for no reason. It seems like. So yeah, the dirty little secret that we know that most people don't is they don't have the equipment. They don't have the people anymore. Honestly, if Disney wanted to do it, they would have to hire, well,
of course,
let's say us, but also a lot of other people, and run it kind of virtually, honestly. Because,
I'm going to throw out another. This is just totally me, but
do it.
Could Disney, a big corporation that wanted to pivot quickly, and this is to Nick's point, they can't pivot quickly. They can't create this big pipeline very quickly, and it would be hugely expensive. But could they hire an independent studio that's known for 2D animation? A Cartoon Saloon, Sergio Pablos back in Spain. There are ways that these rumors could come true in the early forecasts while they're building maybe to something more. And maybe they just want to test the waters again by putting their name. And now here's the thing, though, to the faithful fans that are listening out there.
They need everybody to know that they did it, though.
Exactly. Disney is a corporation. Disney has to own 100% of something. They're not going to go into a partnership where they don't own the majority share, that they don't own the characters. That is their biggest assets. Those are the things that have made the company grow and become the conglomeration that it is. So it could happen, but that's the thing. That's the thing that only makes it unlikely is the fact that it wouldn't be a Disney only thing. They couldn't own it all, and that's their whole thing. So it's hard to find that out there. I believe, like you guys, it's the independents that are going to rise up. I think Hollywood's been saying this on the live action side. This is the year of the independent. I really feel that we're seeing like a meltdown in Hollywood over and over and over again. And LA is literally on fire when it comes to how to make movies that are successful. And they've had
too soon, Tony.
Too soon. But they've had a lot of issues. Let's just say that. And every time they start to get up, they're punched in the gut again. It feels like in LA, and Hollywood included. Very sad.
Which makes it really hard for them, because the other question I get a lot is what do you think about the sequels? It's so hard to get them to step out and be trailblazers again. I mean, at one time, in the 90s, we were trailblazers. You know, I say we. Disney was trailblazing. That's what started everything that we're living in now, right?
Yeah.
And now it's nothing but sequels and when you have films like Elio that come out.
Yeah.
What's that?
To those films, it's sequels and live action.
Exactly.
Those
Truth.
movies.
Yeah.
Well, it is weird. I mean, it is
so
weird.
Then
when
you have original content that comes out and falls flat, then it's just a big strike against us.
Well,
and then they're going to blame it on the content rather than whatever it might be. And so everyone's going to point fingers someplace else.
Should they blame it on the audience? And that's a weird thing, right? Because everybody says they want original ideas, and then original ideas come around and don't.
No, I don't think you should ever blame it on the audience. Personally,
well,
I think
I'm not actually
good
saying
content is put out there, and if it's marketed right, then it's going to be consumed.
I'm not saying
that's how franchises start.
You're not wrong, Nick. I mean, we've all heard it where they look down on the audience, and
I'm not actually saying they.
We made too smart of a film for the audience.
And
that's what every executive from every division will do. They always think they're smarter than the audience.
Which is one of the biggest.
The audience wasn't ready for this. This is before
right. Which is the biggest issue I have with Hollywood is those executives that think they know better. Because the number one principle of business, and you guys do this so well, the customer is always right. You have to know, you have to super serve your audience. They might be, they should spend their time tracking and trying to figure out what the audience wants instead of telling the audience what they need. And that's been the issue at Disney, in Hollywood for years now. And they need to get back to, let's make a movie that I would want to see. And really, isn't that what it is for us, right?
And don't be afraid to wear your heart on your sleeve. And don't be, don't be so cynical. And don't be so.
I mean, I do have this is just a question. I mean, and you've talked about this a lot, Aaron, from the business standpoint of Disney's a business and they're going to do things that make financial sense. Let's take Pixar, right? Elio, as we just said, has underperformed. Pixar's last movie was a sequel, and it was the highest grossing film of all time. So if you're a corporation, what are you going to keep doing?
Exactly.
I mean,
remakes and sequels.
But my point is, and executives are going to look at this. It wasn't a success. Well, a part of it was a success because it was a sequel to something that's been proven already, for sure. And then Elio didn't underperform because it was original content. It just might not be the right original content. It might be something. I mean, original content is still a viable. You still have to make original content to get.
You have to. I think that's a better way of putting it, Aaron. Is you have to make it, or your company doesn't thrive. They're still living off of everything original that they did 30 years ago. That's how they're supporting their company now, right? They put it into the theme parks. It becomes those original characters, those Aladdins, and those.
I think it becomes a little bit of, hey, let's cash in on this now, and we'll worry about it later. And I get the business of, they got to create a return for their investors, right? And you want as small amount of risk as possible. So if you got a sequel that is guaranteed a great return, then of course you're going to do that. I get it. But you can only sustain that for so long.
Going back to the independent versus big studio thing, then I think the flaw with an original concept is that it shouldn't have probably gotten the same budget as a sequel. So why it shouldn't be $250 million, because it then has to make $1 billion to earn its money back.
Well, I think the way our films are being, I'd say ours loosely, the way films at big studios are being made now is completely, I'll take this to the grave with me, is completely wrong. Yeah. And there's no reason why a film should cost $200 million to make. An animated film.
What's the sweet spot, Aaron, Nick? What's the sweet spot? What do you think we should be making, especially on the independent side? What's a good price point that you think will bring profitability?
I think somewhere. I think you can make a really nice production value 2D animated film at a big studio for between 50 and 100. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, you mean
without
like
a doubt.
a Disney picture? Just make it.
Yeah. One of the
reduce
biggest
the cost.
problems is the iteration after iteration after
Yes.
iteration after
Not
iteration
making
for
decisions.
every step of the process.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and I
here's
think
here's the problem,
yeah.
and we all know it, is that they, like you were saying, I think Nick just said this, you have to make $1 billion now to be able to sustain all the marketing costs, all the the people that are sitting around even when they're not working. So like, just that's the kind of dollars that it has to make to kind of make a profit, is in the billions, and at least over $1 billion.
It's crazy.
But part of it, yes, is because they had to make it for 250 million, right? And you're right. If we brought it down to 100, how much more, of a profit now do you have?
Right.
And that all seems clear. Well, Jared Bush just mentioned this. I read part of the articles. One of the other things he said at Anacey is he was talking about original properties, just like what we're talking about. He's like, well, yeah, it's undeniable. We're going to be making some sequels and all that because they're doing very well and people want it. People want it. That was his point.
Yeah.
And he can prove that with the dollars. And so he's saying, I can see though that we need to bring out originals. He was agreeing with the point. Oh yeah, we still got to keep making the originals too. I just think they need to have two different price points, is what he said. And I think he said something like,
that's what I was saying.
Maybe a sequel is about 250, something like that, million. I think he's wrong there. I don't know why they have to go that high.
I agree.
But maybe the originals are more, a little bit more conscientious about the budget, and they're more like at 100 million. And so he's agreeing with what we're saying. I think they're still obsessive.
Kevin Smith had a Kevin Smith has a quote that he's been saying for years, and you can like or not like his movies, but his comment has always been, I will always be able to keep making movies because I make my movies for $10 million and they make 40. And therefore I will always stay employed,
It's so true though. It is so true. And he can also have some bombs out there that make, 30, and he's still doing okay and still getting hired to come back. On the big budget side of things, the Disney conglomerate side, I wish I was Chris Sanders right now. I'll say that, because I'm sure he's getting knocks on the door and calls and emails about coming back and doing Lilo and Stitch 2.
Of course.
Electric Boogaloo.
And so is Dean.
Yeah.
Dean's loving it, and I'm super happy for those guys.
I know, I am too.
They did what they did with Dean. Hey, if you're going to make a live action film, here's the original director. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But for us, going back to and I'm saying us in the way of being in the independent world, 15-20 million dollars. We can make 2D animated features in that ballpark. You got to be smart. You got to be smart. You got to know what you kind of got to have a really nailed down story. You can't do a lot of iterations and stuff. So
and you make it once. Exactly.
You make it once. You do your best and you make it once. You put it out there. But is it resonant? Yes. Is it original? Is it from the heart? All those things are very possible at that price point. Is it Disney quality? Will it stand up to that? I don't think we can match that because of the amount of money.
Well, it just depends. I mean, is it Disney quality compared to the 90s, or is it Disney quality compared to the 60s? I know those things change, but have you sat down and watched 101 Dalmatians lately?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It's not perfect.
I mean, the line quality. For some reason or other, we had to start chiseling our line, every single line, and it couldn't vary. I mean, look at Mulan. Mulan is the most cleaned up film we've ever made, even more than Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
And I know the budget on just the cleanup department was incredibly high.
It was high.
It's that kind of thinking. If you can let go of that kind of that artistic side of things and embrace the idea that this is a hand-drawn medium, you're going to save tens of millions of dollars, not just a few million, but tens of millions.
Yeah, and
I love that.
Well, and it's going to be interesting, Aaron. I'm going to throw this back at you. Is to see, you did an amazing looking short. Again, probably didn't. I don't know if you'd call it cleanup. It was more like tie down.
It was tied. Right? It was clean tie downs. It was clean rough.
So still had kind of a rough look to it, a tight rough look, I'll say.
Right.
You're going to find when you do a feature now, similar feature, not everybody draws like you. Not everybody can do that line. Not everybody can, so now there's a new problem of like, well, how do you maintain that kind of control?
But even if you bring in cleanup artists or assistants to get it to that point, you're still not going through that chisel line where you're doing 6 drawings a day, like we were going through at Disney. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, I remember.
I was doing 50 drawings a day when I was doing Snow Bear. That's what I did. It's 50 drawings a day. That was my quota that I gave myself.
Oh, that's
a good
news. Yeah,
for the listener out there. That's very impressive because, you weren't too far from it. I remember working on Rescuers Down Under doing cleanup, and if I had 5 to 6 drawings out in a day, that they were patting me on the back.
Those are cleanup.
Yeah, I remember our goal was supposed to be like eight drawings a day. What?
Yeah,
but Marahute, to that point, Marahute, Glenn Keane's Eagle character in that film, I heard, if you got half a drawing or a full drawing, one drawing.
I remember like Coda's mom in Brother Bear, the big Rune Beneke character. They were doing 1 drawing a day.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you talking
so,
about?
I mean, and we all love that.
This is what I'm talking about. They just don't have to cost that much money.
Literally, I just want to say this out loud for our audience. What we're talking about, this was the heyday of cleanup animation, was the 2000s, we'll say. Because Mulan and Brother Bear and Lilo and Stitch, a lot of it happening in Florida. Honestly, we had some of the best cleanup artists in the world in Florida.
That level started in Florida. Yes, it wasn't a California thing.
We got trained by California. I'll say we because I was one of them for a little while, and so were you, Aaron, briefly in cleanup, and Tony. Mm-hmm. We were getting trained by California masters, basically, but we were trying to take it. We were overachievers, I guess. We were trying to kind of take it to the even next level.
Well, it was that trying to prove to California. I mean, let's face it.
It
was all of us young people trying to prove we could do it better. Yeah,
it did.
And so it turned into this monster. Yeah,
it was, and we were very proud of it in the Florida studio.
That's a podcast in itself, right?
I've heard other people, other directors of other films at other studios go, but Mulan had the best cleanup.
One of the best compliments I ever got was Brad Bird. Said that to me at a screening. I told you this story, Tom, but Brad Bird, after when I introduced myself to him, like for the 3rd time, and he finally remembered who I was. Which one are you the twin that did Mulan? Oh, okay. And he's like, Mulan, all-time best cleanup of any Disney feature ever. I'll take that to the grave.
I agree 100% with that.
And he's a geek, obviously, but we created a monster too. I mean, you could say we've done that with Unions too. You can add all these layers, and it's a little bit of why people can't make films in California anymore. That's where we're kind of slowly getting there, where we're talking about how do they spend 150 million, 200 million. Well, when you add in all the special effects, and now I'm talking about a Marvel movie, like all the special effects people from around the world that work on it. You look at those credits, you're like, how did they not spend 200 million? Right? There's so many names.
But but that thinking, going back to animation, I can't tell you how many times someone in cleanup would be showing me a shot on Mulan, let's say, or even on Brother Bear, where I was directing the film, and I'd say, yeah, that looks great. And they go, well, there's a little bit of a flicker up here. I think we should send it back. I was like, look, your eye is over here. That flicker is over there. Don't worry. It's fine. And next thing I know, that shot is sent back, even though I said don't do it. And you got man hours being spent to fix something that didn't need to be fixed. That's the mentality that I'm talking about. And not just that, we would get, I mean, both of you guys, I'm sure, you get 10 iterations of one thing for you to narrow down to 3, so then they can go away and take those 3 and narrow it down to 2, so that they can take that back and narrow it down to 1, and then you have to approve it.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing?
Right.
That's the thing I'm talking about.
Just give me 5, I'll pick 1, and we're done.
Yeah.
To this is going to take it back to Snow Bear. Really early on, we wanted the line crawl. We wanted to celebrate that it was handmade by one person. I want to reiterate that Aaron did everything you see on screen. That's the backgrounds, that's the snowflakes, that's the water, that's everything, the bubble animation, that's all Aaron. But we wanted to celebrate that it was handmade. And I would say that makes part of the experience better, because the cleanup and all that is great. And Mulan is a beautiful film. So, but I would say at some point, to what end? Like my son and my granddaughter, and they sit down and they watch Snow Bear, or they watch Wolfwalkers, or they watch Song of the Sea, or they watch Mulan, and they enjoy them all. They don't go, wow, I really appreciated the chiseled line of Mulan, and therefore I liked it more. It's not, you know what I mean?
It's a great point. You know, you can't, it's undeniable.
Well, hold on. I got to say this for Aaron, because I know he's thinking it. We're not saying that good cleanup isn't a lot of work, that there's not amazing talents out there, and that we actually are saying how amazing it is.
Oh no! To me, to my point on the cleanup side of things is that it went beyond what any cleanup artist would normally.
No, you're right.
But, I mean, they on Mulan, they were trying to make the width of the line consistent, not just whether or not it wobbled.
Yeah, no, and I don't even know what you call that. It's not even a warble at that point.
It's like a wiggle, a jiggle. But what we are talking about, and we do need to kind of summarize here, because I feel like we cracked the nut. We cracked the nut. We solved the problem. What we are talking about is, how do we make these things less expensive so they can go out into the marketplace? They have souls, they have heart, they're original, they're great stories first and foremost, at a smaller price point. That's how we're going to win the day for 2D animation, I feel like. And I feel like
embrace the medium.
And we're all saying that, it sounds like.
And I just want to touch on that, Tony, which is, because I've been trying to get there and we're here now, which is, how do we do it? How do we move forward? And there's a lot of people out there, I'm going to say it out loud, that want us to team up. All of us, our generation.
Glenn Keane, Andreas, all of us.
Why aren't they coming back? They're waiting for us to do it, right? Why aren't they coming back and
it's money
to the animation?
It all comes down to money, right?
Right. I don't want to Aaron on my payroll. That's my answer.
Right.
No,
he can't afford it. He can't afford. Yeah,
can't afford them.
Tom says that all the time. Tom says that all the time. I can't afford you to work on my project.
Or you shrink the production time down to where we can pull a team that we would want to have together.
A small team, you're right, of pros.
Yeah, I'd love to have the Sergio Pabloses and the James Baxters and the Sandro Cluzos and all those guys together for a month. That's what we'd be able to afford, right? Imagine what you get done in that month. Yeah. Exactly.
No, I agree with you. So I do think, guys, that we're developing a film right now. Penciler Studios is. So all of us, not only did Tony and I just finish Light of the World, our parts of that, and that's coming out in September. It was
Congratulations.
Done. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was done. We're actually going to a screening of it tomorrow night, so we're excited about that with like, a real audience. But honestly, it was done in harmony. It was more of a rigged animation or puppet animation style, and we pushed them as far as we could. We were constantly doing drawovers. Every scene, one shot, I think we didn't do red lines over. And I'm saying Tony and I, but that was mostly Tony's job. And so a lot of that a little more squash and stretch, a little bit more, and trying to get as much of that sort of, to get the sting of the stiffness of puppet animation off of it as much as possible.
Take the curse away from it as much as possible.
But doing it, and they had hard deadlines. I mean, we were jerks, honestly, because we were pushing them so hard, and they really wanted to do it. It was Lighthouse Studios. They did an amazing job.
Great.
Amazing job.
In Ireland. And so we're very, very proud of what they did and how hard they worked. They had the same goal. They really wanted it to look good, and they were putting their all into it.
They did.
But honestly, there's only so far you can go and keep a budget and a timeline. We had a tight timeline, about a year to do the whole feature, all the animation. And so that comes with a price tag. So like, that's a $20 million film. And I do think we need to get more like what Kevin Smith was saying, and I'm sure that was a dated when he said that, maybe quite a few years ago, but at least 15, and it's hard though, where I'm budgeting out a film right now, Dakota Ring, our film, and we do want it to be a little higher level than potentially even Light of the World. Not quite Snow Bear. We're not going to be Snow Bear, but closer to that, and a little bit more complex, more characters and stuff, obviously too. Than
effects animation. You'll probably end up at 18 to 20 is my prediction.
Right. Well, that's where we are. We're crunching the numbers and we're about 18 to 20. But I really wanted to be 10 because at 10, I'm like, okay, we're making how do you not make a profit at 10? Right. And I do think that's what we need to eyeball is 10, 12,
that's our target as well. Go ahead, Nick.
One of the things we've been learning a lot about the European collaborative funding model and how they make the films over in Europe. And I wish there was like the state funding collaborative model, over here, everything is like, well, if Florida makes it, then there's Florida tax credits, or if California makes it, then there's California tax credits, but there's no pulling all those resources together over here.
Yeah. What you're saying is we have state, we don't have federal. We don't have it coming from the top, because then the states could kick in, and honestly, that's what California's trying to get past to some degree. But we need the federal. We need Trump to go. All right, we're going to put just a blanket 15% tax
credit
to all film. Okay, great. Now there's 15. Now each state can go. Oh, and we'll add 15. Right. And they can afford that now. And now we got 30. Now we're competing with Europe. Right. And hopefully we get closer to 40 because they're at 40 to 50 in a lot of cases. So, Canary Islands is at 50%.
50%. Exactly.
Yeah. But I heard as a result of that, though, now they're max saturated. So you can't get anything.
You can't get anything through there.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
Well, then you also have other issues of talent pool too. They only have so many resources of great talent there, and they're burning through that probably with one production, two productions. So it doesn't matter at a certain point what their tax credit is if the product doesn't succeed, if it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And that's always that's going to be the balance, right? I mean, you can it's what do they call it? The work triangle: cheap, fast, and good. You can pick any two that you want.
Yeah, exactly. You can't have all three.
Bigger, better, faster, cheaper. Yeah. Well, guys, I guess we do have to wrap up now, and this has been a really, really fun talk. I know we can all go.
I could go on for hours and hours about this stuff. I love it.
We have.
I want to share
tomorrow.
I want to share.
Do that.
I want to share one quick thing. If people are interested in Snow Bear, they can go to snowbearshort.com. because that's where we're sharing all of the upcoming festival information. It's where we'll have information about when you can eventually stream it. We've got a whole bunch of stuff in that development. So snowbearshort.com. And thank you guys.
And by the way, guys, I'm squatting on snowbear.com. If you want to buy it from me, just let me know. It's going to cost you though. I also have arctic.com. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Full circle. Well,
I can't see what you guys do next, though. We're super excited. You got fans here with the Bancroft brothers, and I know
vice versa,
and all of our listeners. You guys, please support what Nick and Aaron are doing. They're really trying to blow up this independent market. Now's the time for the support too. Now is the time.
Are we not going to tell them about the movie we all agreed we're making together? Are we not?
We forgot that announcement.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I wasn't supposed to say that.
That's for the next podcast.
I'm there. Yeah.
So
we got to talk, guys. We're going to all keep talking. I want everybody to know that off mic, we're all going to keep talking about this.
Yes, we are. Because we got to hold hands and do it together. That's the only way it's going to happen.
I totally agree.
I believe that too. Awesome.
Tony, quit going off on your own. All right, you rebel.
I'm a rogue one.
Yeah, right.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for being here
and being part of the we always say, Aaron, what do you always say?
You said earlier
and put some beauty back in the world, baby. That's what I would say.
That's you. No, you said it. You actually quoted it earlier.
Animate
from the heart.
From the heart.
From the heart.
That's our
so that you can put beauty back into the world.
Right.
If you like what you just saw, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Pencilish Studios.